Good afternoon or good evening, everybody, and welcome to our February edition of Houston HBCU Live. I am Bishop Richard Harper, Vice President of the Houston HBCU Alumni Association, and I'm joined tonight with my co host and our illustrious president.
Yes, Veronica Johnson Williams, representing Grambling State University. Hello, Bishop. It is so good to be back for another great Houston HBCU Live.
And indeed it is. And let me add to the conversation that I represent Paul Quinn College in Dallas, Texas. I always say Grambling people just cut up everywhere they go.
Hey, everywhere we go, they know our name. Why? Because we are world fame.
Absolutely. So, guys, we thank you for joining in tonight. We're going to have a great conversation about Black history, Black excellence, and legacy building in the African American community. We invite you to talk back to us. Please share the broadcast this evening. Just simply hit the share button and share it so that all of your friends on Facebook and YouTube can join in to the conversation. And we invite you as well to let us know what HBCU that you are representing on tonight. Let's go ahead and get our announcements and bring us up to speed with everything that's going on in Houston HBCU Alumni Association, Ms. V.
Oh, yes. Let's tell everyone all about the good things that the Houston HBCU Alumni Association, HBCUAA, is doing out in the community, as well as with our historically Black colleges and universities. First of all, we want you to know that our annual HBCU College Fair is coming up. It will kick off our HBCU Awareness Month, which is March. So, first Saturday in March, we will be hosting the largest HBCU college fair in the nation for the sole purpose of recruiting. March 6th in person at Houston Marriott South at Hobby Airport, 9100 Gulf Freeway, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And guess what? At the exact same time, we will have over 30 HBCUs on virtually. So we will be doing it virtually as well as in person. We have maxed out our room, our ballroom with HBCUs and partners. So guys, even if you come and the school that you wish to visit with is not in the room, we will have a room there also set aside for students and parents to go and view virtually there. So we certainly want you to come out. We will be practicing all of our social distancing protocols. The Houston City of Houston Health Department is one of our major partners. So of course, they will be on site and you'll have to visit with them first, have your temperature checked. All the protocols will be in place before you can even enter the room. And of course, they're going to give you some goodies before you even enter the room. So come on out. This is the one time in the year that this many historically Black colleges and universities gather for the sole purpose of recruiting. And it's very important that you take advantage of this time. Why? Because we know no students, no school. And you want to stand in front of these recruiters so that you can ask those key questions that you need to ask, and they will be able to direct you, to help you transition from high school to college. And if you're not graduating right now, this is the perfect time to come out and visit with the schools so that you will already be on track, so that you can make that transition and help others transition from high school to college. So we have some important announcements that are coming up. We will be on Great Day Houston on Thursday. We're scheduled to be on Great Day Houston with Miss Deborah Duncan on this Thursday coming up. So please tune in to that. We will just on 97.9 The Box, as well as Magic 102. We were interviewed by the well-known Uncle Funky Larry. So he is a proud graduate of an HBCU, Alabama State University. So guys, there are a lot of things we have going on, and I'm gonna let Bishop tell you about our mentoring program because it is so important right now that we are there in the lives of our students as early as possible. And guess what? All of these things we're doing right here with Houston HBCU Alumni Association, HBCUAA. So guys, go out on our website, check out all of our programs. And right now, let me pause and let me send out a very heartwarming thank you to HEB for coming in as our 2021 underwriter of our upcoming HBCU College Fair. HEB, thank you for your community spirit. Thank you for partnering with us to ensure students are exposed to higher education through our historically Black colleges and universities. And let me not forget our virtual college fair, the virtual component. It is being sponsored by Education Elements. So as you see, we have lots of individuals that are working with us to make sure that our students have our historically Black colleges and universities as their first choice when they decide to further their education. Bishop, tell us about our mentoring program, because I know that's one of your babies.
Absolutely. And again, you can visit us online at www.hbcuaa.org to learn more about our programs. We do have our mentoring program every second Saturday, hosted at Welch Middle School in the Houston area, located at 11544 South Gessner Drive, Houston, Texas. And we have a great time with the students at Welch Middle School, and we invite you to be a part. Come out with your school shirt on, yes, and let the students at Welch Middle School see, yes, our Houston HBCU alum in the place, and we have, yes, a great time with those students. I'm so excited about our conversation on tonight. Ms. Dia,
I am too.
We have an awesome panel of guests. Guys, those of you that are tuning in, I see 13 people at the moment or more that have joined in, and let us know who you were representing tonight. We need to know what HBCUs we have in the house. This is an interactive conversation. So thank you, Yvette Payne Allen, representing Grambling State University on tonight, and others.
My Lion sister. We
give us
each other.
Absolutely. So give a shout out to your schools on tonight. Let us know. Of course, Grambling is in the house. Texas College, yes, is in the house. Thank, yes, you for joining us tonight. All, yes, right. AKA is in the house.
Yes.
All night. Right. So we're so excited, and you guys keep repping your schools and join in the conversation. Tonight we have one of our treasured members that's joining us, and we just have a panel of members on tonight that's joining us. Dr. Beverly Dancer is joining us in conversation, and she is an educator and a student advocate, and she has traveled extensively internationally, and she has studied the history of our culture. So we are considering her our resident Black history expert. Dr. Dancer, if you'll unmute yourself so that we can hear you.
Good evening, everybody. And of
Good
Good
course,
evening.
evening. Good evening. Oh my goodness, she's repping. She's
you
repping
know it,
University.
Texas Southern University. Well,
Yes.
I'm just very happy to be here and to be a part of this conversation as we take this time of the year and just sort of reflect on our history, reflect on our accomplishments, and reflect on the direction that we're looking to go and to provide those reflections to our students, to our children, to our community, and move in that direction. I'm very happy to be a part of this organization because a part of our history is our HBCUs. So I'm a
Oh,
proud product of Texas Southern University. I'm from Louisiana, so we have several HBCUs there, but that's a very integral part of our history.
oh yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Dr. Dancer, tell us about your incredible journey in learning more about our culture.
Well, some years ago, I was blessed to join an organization, the National Alliance of Black School Educators. And being a part of that organization, I had an opportunity to meet so many educators from all various parts. And I learned scholars and the things that they were doing and had that opportunity to travel into Africa. And so
Oh,
every year, the last year we did not because of COVID, we take a trip to some part of Africa, and with that, there are educational tours. And we usually visit the universities and schools, and we talk to the experts and all of those persons that are in those cultures to help share those experiences. I'm
mhm.
very happy to say I have a few things here that I would just love to show you guys. One of the things when I visited a few years ago to Johannesburg, I really wanted to meet a real Zulu. Y'all know I'm from New Orleans,
Oh yes.
and there's so many tribes. And I just kept saying, I really want to meet a gentleman who's from the Zulu tribe.
Mhm.
And I was very blessed to not only meet that gentleman, but I was able to get a one of the spears that the
Oh,
warriors. Can you see that?
Yes,
It's
yeah.
yes, we can.
beautiful. It's gorgeous, just weld carved, and they have the different sizes with the trying to show you guys the different areas that you can
Yes.
use. So that was beautiful. And of course, I have some other pieces here that I would like to show. This is great.
Oh,
I
that's
actually purchased these
beautiful.
in Cape Town. They're beautiful.
Yes, they
I
are.
love Cape Town.
I love
Yes,
it.
that's his.
And it's supposed to be like fraternity dolls, but whoever needs the spirit are welcome.
Those are
Fertility
beautiful.
dolls. They're fertility
Yes,
dolls.
yes.
What are they? Kosa? What tribe did those come from?
Actually, I don't remember, Richard, but I'm sure I have something written down. When you travel like that and you go into so many townships, and then you have, of course, the people who make their living by crafting such beautiful artifacts. Many times it's just the crafting and the symbolic meaning of it that is just there. And of course, you love it and you want to support it, and you make those kinds of purchases. But I just
Exactly.
love the beading. The beading is just absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous.
What does it do for you in terms of spirit? And I know for me personally, as an African American, when you make that journey and return back to the motherland, I
Mhm.
mean, how did it? What did it change for you when you returned?
I'm going to say my first trip to Africa, first of all, to have someone to say, welcome home. When I got into the airport, welcome home, that was one piece, and to feel so, so connected. And then when you come back to your land here, um, it just kind of reminds you the struggles and all of the things that our culture, of the people of our race have experienced. And that's why it's so important for us to embrace not only Black history in the month of February, but throughout the whole year and make it a part of our everyday conversation. My children grew up hearing race relations. We talked about things as it related, not just to the African American race, but of various cultures. We have extensive books on various cultures, but it's important for us to incorporate that. And though we love our leaders, but we have so many great African American people that are alive and well today that our children and our communities need to know about that.
What books do you recommend we start with? I know we teach, of course, African American history here in my house, and I know Ms. V does as well to her family. But what books would you recommend for anyone that's just starting to learn about our culture?
I certainly wished I had gone upstairs and just brought down a whole slew of books that I have in my bonus room. But I would just say that with my children, I started just with some of the basic Israel Jack Keats, some of those children authors, Coretta Scott King, some of the Caldecotts that basically just introduced our children to what does Black look like, and just that everyday part of who we are, and then grow as that level mature. Of course, we know we have all of our writers like Toni Morrison that talks about Black experiences, but we have I can just list. I have, Barack Obama's book about his father. Then we have all the new stuff. So I think it's just so much that's out there, up from slavery, so much that's out there. It's just a matter of which direction. We want to talk about Blacks in businesses. There's so much out there. Our Blacks in politics. The early Republicans that were African American, the early governor out of Louisiana. I mean, just things. It's just a lot out there. It's a lot.
It is. There's so much more to learn, and some of the criticism is that we've spent too much time discussing slavery. How do you feel about that?
I don't think we spend too much time discussing it. I think that slavery is a part of it, and it shouldn't be in isolation. I think the whole story needs to be tapped on. So we know the whole piece about the Mid-Atlantic. We know all about the slave trades, but there's so many other pieces from there on. So yes, we did have that. That is a part. It happened. Where we are, what happened, and where we are today, moving to making things a lot easier and better for everybody. Equity, per se.
Absolutely, because we are living in history and we have so many new history makers. You don't have to go back to the 1800s or even the early 1900s. We have so many history makers that were just in the last couple of decades that we can learn and know more about. I took some time to read about some of the presidents of Paul Quinn College, and I was amazed to see former slaves that had gone through the African Methodist Episcopal Church and the ME Church, the Methodist Episcopal Church, and went to Wilberforce and attended seminaries, and they did this without slavery. Some of them were emancipated at the end of the Civil War. So when we learn that there's so much history for us to learn.
Indeed, and it's ongoing, and I think that and it definitely needs to be a part of our everyday conversation. Definitely needs to be a part of our history, and it should. I hear some people talking about some of the issues and the things, some of the social causes that we're involved with now the same things that their grandparents and their great grandparents and have fought for. So I agree that it is so much not that's alive right now. So many things that are working that it definitely needs to be tapped on. We need to talk about it. I agree with that 100%. So many great leaders in that way, and then some we also have great followers. We have great followers. We have a lot of people in the background making it happen and putting it out there. They're great.
Exactly.
And to be a history maker doesn't mean that one must be world renowned. We have our local history makers.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
100.
Absolutely.
Young people, older people. Yes. And I'm just excited to be a part of this movement again. Growing
Absolutely.
up to
Thank you, Dr. Dancer, for coming in.
Thank
Bishop,
you
do
for
we
having
have
me.
any questions? Have we received any questions from the audience to get the audience engaged with the conversation?
We haven't, but I give you space to ask.
I'd like to know.
Dr. Dancer, because I had an opportunity to just be with you when you were in one of the shops, and I just had an opportunity to just witness how engrossed you were in the art that was in the particular room. So just tell us a little bit about what attracts your attention to some of the artwork, the clothing, and things like that you've had an opportunity to purchase.
I attended all Black schools all of my life, and I had teachers that they would just do things and say things and wear things that was just always so attractive. And as I grew and got to understand what did it mean to be Black, I just embraced it. I just wanted to be. I remember in junior high school, I think I self-changed my name. I had another whole name. I had people calling me something else, but I just love how it feels and how it looks. It's just so, and I have stuff, clothes, I have fabric, jewelry. I mean, you're looking at something here,
Yes.
and just like when I went to the Apollo, and I just, all of that. It's just, and then I was also blessed some years back in New Orleans I have been selected actually to participate in Louisiana, one of the endowments for African American studies. So I'm going to say that was probably the true plug. And it was like a 4-week study at Southern University at New Orleans.
Okay.
And then I truly, really understood and learned so much about African fabrics, artifacts, paintings. And if you ever go to New Orleans, go to the Museum of Fine Arts, which is in City Park, and they have a beautiful exhibit of African American artifacts. So I would think that is probably where I got it from. And then when I was blessed to travel, I've understood different pieces about art. I know that when I see dust on art, that's very good. You want to see that. I understood the difference in the printing, that the different designs and different colors and different fabrics have a different meaning. So yeah, I even have a real nice hat that the Queen Zulu wears. I should have got that. I would think that that's probably it's just so beautiful. And it's
Dr. Dancer, just seeing you in some of the jury and things like that, the spirit of being a queen and all of that, it just flows from you. It does. When you have it on, it flows from being a Black, beautiful queen.
Oh,
So
how
I
sweet.
just
Yes,
wanted to let you know that.
thank you. And we all are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Dancer, thank you so much for adding to the conversation tonight and sharing your beautiful art with us and your experience with our culture. And I think you have enriched us greatly, and you've encouraged others to continue to study our very beautiful history. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, come again.
Yes. And thank you for being a valued member of Houston HBCU Alumni Association.
You're very welcome, Madam President.
All right. We are discussing, guys, tonight Black history, Black excellence, and legacy building. We've started with a great conversation there with Dr. Beverly Rivers Dancer, and we're going to continue to move. Miss Veronica, we had recently, there was a documentary that was released last week, a two-part documentary discussing the Black church. And I believe that the Black church is the foundation for Black excellence. When we're talking about Black excellence, many fashion designers, many composers, writers, they got it all in the Black church. I follow Andre Leon Talley, and he talks about watching his grandmother get up and get dressed, and that gave him his eye for fashion, and of course music, and so much that we've done. And you and I, we laugh all the time about the lodge meetings that used to take place at the church and the funeral home. And all of that. So I'm excited about our next guest. Dr. Sharon C. Patterson is a high-profile Dallas pastor leading her congregation through dual pandemics of coronavirus and racism with boldness and compassion. As pastor of Hamilton Park United Methodist Church, the historic church embraces its community with ministries to feed the mind, body, and soul. The daughter of one of North Carolina's first Black policemen, Dr. Patterson has a unique three-pillar platform to inform, inspire, and educate on policing and racism. As a police daughter, she frequents national and local media with perspectives on both sides of the issue. Dr. Patterson is the first African-American woman ordained in her region of the United Methodist Church. She meticulously tends to the souls of her predominantly Black congregation with prayers, protests, and psychology. Dr. Patterson is a mother and wife and knows the frequent anguish accompanying her husband's errands or her son's jobs around the neighborhood. Dr. Patterson's 30-year ministry is built on innovation and change. A prolific author of 9 books and countless articles, she has never settled for the status quo. Her most recent book on leadership has been taught in leadership classes at the seminary level and in the training of hospital executives and law enforcement top brass. Dr. Patterson is a sought-after preacher and has graced pulpits from coast to coast and in Africa. Dr. Patterson is a 13-year survivor of breast cancer. She turned her diagnosis into a Dallas-wide health education event. In partnership with Methodist Health System, she created the Patterson Pledge that encouraged women to take responsibility of their health. She raised thousands of dollars to provide free mammograms for low-income women by gathering other breast cancer survivors and building Habitat for Humanity homes. She holds degrees from Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, and Perkins School of Theology at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. Dr. Patterson and her husband, Robert, have been married 36 years and are the parents of 2 adult children. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome,
Bishop
Dr.
Richard and
Patterson.
President Veronica. Hello, how are y'all today?
We are great. It is
I am so honored to be a part of this.
Here with us.
Anytime you're discussing anytime
No,
we
it's okay.
discuss HBCU, I have to be a part of it because I'm a second generation HBCU. So it's in my blood.
Wonderful.
And I have to support it at every turn.
Excellent.
Absolutely. And guys, I know Dr. Patterson's ministry. We go way back to when I was a student at Paul Quinn College. And now Miss V often says that I'm shy sometimes, but I was not shy at Paul Quinn.
No, not at all.
Not at all. I didn't even know Dr. Patterson very well. And I needed some money for school, and her church was right across the street at the time from Paul Quinn. And I reached out to her and asked her for a donation, and she sent me a check. So I mean, she practices what she preaches, and I certainly have seen your work across what you did. You sent me a check, and the first time when I was a student, the SJ president, and maybe I was the freshman class president. It was one of those offices. I was the SJ chaplain, and I invited Dr. Patterson to come and speak by chapel service. And I had heard about Dr. Patterson. My mother was bragging about Dr. Patterson. You spoke at her job at the Martin Luther King Clinic, and she told me about you. She said she should come to Paul Quinn, and I called to invite her. Now, I was Church of God in Christ, okay? I was from the Pentecostal church. And I called Dr. Patterson after she accepted the invitation. I said, Dr. Patterson, I have one question for you. Do you hoop? I said, because we want to have some church. We don't want to lecture. We want to have some church. And Dr. Patterson came in, y'all, and she preached. She had a beautiful red dress on, and just hair was just laid and made up. And she preached, y'all. She preached. Dr. Patterson to the platform. Tell us more about you and your work as the first ordained African-American ordained woman in your region of your denomination.
Yes. Well, I am Black history. I am the first Black woman to be ordained in this region of the country in the United Methodist Church. And to be a trailblazer is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, you get people saying, oh, that's so wonderful. On the other hand, having to blaze a trail where no one had gone before all by yourself is hard. And a friend of mine put it very well. He said, the pioneers get the arrows, the settlers get the land. As a pioneer, I got a lot of arrows from people saying women shouldn't be pastors. And I want to say women and men and women are very sexist and very traditional and think women shouldn't pastor. So women and men came and tried to pull me down. So, and those women who have come behind me, praise God, I am a mentor and encourager and have brought dozens of women into ministry. They are the ones who I pray are having a much better time than I did when I first got started.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so many women are rising in leadership, and women of color are rising in church leadership. Talk to us a little bit about that. The women that are up and coming. Someone had a documentary, a book, I don't know if you were a part of that, was called Those Preaching Women. And we're certainly seeing a rise of women in leadership in the African American community.
Yes, Bishop Harper, I think Skip Gates' documentary last week on the Black church accurately captured the reality of women in leadership, and that is the truth that in the Black church, even though we were persecuted racially, we turned around and persecuted women. And so women have had to fight the whole way to hold leadership positions, even though they are the majority of the church and the backbone and do all the giving of the money. Hello, somebody. We still had to fight to be leaders and to be clergy women. And the fight continues. But I'm going to tell you something. When God calls you, it doesn't matter who's against you, because if God be for you, who dare be against you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that.
Yes.
And that was a great documentary. And I'm just thinking about that documentary. Do you feel as if, the documentary moved into the Black church now with the social justice movements and, of course, millennial ministers? And it seems as if we're losing some of the flavor of the Black church. And there are some, because I still hold on to the tradition of hooping. Every now and then, I don't have to, but every now and then I hoop. I still sing hymns. And some will say that we should leave that. That's old, that's isn't relevant anymore. But are we losing some of the flavor of the Black church?
Well, the documentary said what is absolutely true. Younger generation is leaving the Black church for a number of reasons. One, they're disenchanted with the leadership. We've had so many Black pastors to be charlatans and to be fake and to be wolves in sheep clothing. And they've done so much damage to the reputation of the Black church that millennials are saying, we're not having that. Secondly, the Black church must keep up. I want to sing a hymn and quote the Bible, but we got to talk about what's going on in the world today and address it. And then finally, Bishop Harper, you're younger than me, but now listen, let the young folk do what the young folk gonna do. However they
Absolutely.
want to have church, let them come to Christ their way, and the rest of us will go our way. But everybody should have their own way to come to Christ. Nobody should force you to do it your way. They want to come with jeans torn up in a t-shirt. Come on. We want to come with a suit buttoned down. Come on. The point is get to Jesus and celebrate Jesus, no matter how you look or how you feel.
Exactly.
Yes.
Absolutely. Dr. Patterson, what is the legacy of the Black church? Even watching the documentary, it seems like after the civil rights movement, we don't have much to talk about anymore for the Black church. Beyond our culture, our presentation. I mean, because there was so much that could have been discussed, but it seems like when we talk about the Black church, it's Kingian. After the civil rights movement, there isn't much talk about. So, where do you see the legacy or the future of the Black church?
Bishop, that's a strong point. That's a strong point. The truth is, Black Lives Matter just wasn't going to fool with outdated Black preachers. And they said, forget the Black church, and Black Lives Matters went on without us. So we can see the Black community will go on without us if we don't open up and get relevant and go with them. But here's what I believe in my heart. We can modernize, be relevant, be hip, be on top of everything. They can leave if they want to. Let somebody die.
Right.
Who do they call first? Who do they call first? A pastor. So we're going to still be needed in their lives. But as a pastor, I am constantly challenged to stay on the cutting edge. I like to be out there on the edge. What's happening now? And I bring my members along, and they often don't understand what I'm doing. But I'm saying, in order to stay alive, keep our doors open, we have to constantly evolve. It's the same message. It's just presented a different way. If you look at all the Isley brothers, you know them?
Yes, I know.
They came out in 1950. They came out in 1955 with Shout, Shout, Shout. And you know what? They've been putting out hits ever since. And you know why? Because they changed with the culture, changed their hair, their suit, their music. It's the same group. But they changed and keep it going. So the Black church must keep the message, but keep going, because with this pandemic, people have discovered there's really no need to come into a building.
That's true.
Right?
That's right.
You can watch TV at home, give from home, do your anointing from home. So it's a whole new world out there.
Communion.
Right.
But you know, friends, it's kind of exciting. Yeah, it's kind of exciting to be on this new edge, because COVID is making us into new people, into a new world. And I'm going to roll with it and see what the end going to be.
Exactly. And that's what you have to be able to do. You have to be able to adapt.
Yes.
If you are not willing to do that, that's exactly what happens. You become extinct. Right.
That's it.
So,
that's
and you
it.
hit the nail on the head when you said evolve. You have to evolve into the new and changing things. You have to incorporate what's happening around you externally. You already know what's going on internally. You're keeping up with that, but you have to also be monitoring your external environment so that you are growing with what's changing around you. Because if you do not, like you just said, guess what? You will be right there in that little box, and the world is going to circle around you. And when you decide to open your door and look out, you're not going to be able to function. Because you have pretty much become what? Almost a hermit. Or if you're inside of just your little institution, you have become institutionalized.
Become a country club. Us four and no more. Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And the points that both of you are making, I think it just flows into our culture on every level of our organizations. Many of our Black organizations are not maintaining relevance, and we're not keeping up with the time. And we see the trend, especially with our HBCU alumni organizations, that we're losing generations. We're losing our 40-year-olds, our 30-year-olds, and definitely, we haven't even captured many of our 20-year-olds. So we've got to modernize. And that's what I can appreciate about your ministry, is that you have done so many cutting edge things. I remember you were doing the love clinics.
That's right. That's right.
Black love, when we didn't know a hashtag Black love. I'm telling y'all, Dr. Sherrod Patterson, we didn't even have a hashtag. You were doing that, and you had a nationally syndicated radio show as well on Sunday morning. And so you were championing Black love, and you were doing the love clinics on college campuses, and you've been doing so many things, and that speaks to us that we've got to maintain relevance by being engaged in now. I think one of the things that we have done as a people is there's nothing wrong. We should always remember where we've come from, but we have not transitioned in consciousness. Many times we're stuck in what I call a psychological time warp. And so mentally, we're stuck in decades and centuries, and the world is passing us by. And so we've got to come into the times where we are now and move into the future and become futuristic thinkers.
Amen. Amen.
And there's a place for all of it when you look at history, when you talk about history. The reason you need all of it working together is because you don't want to repeat something that has already happened. So you do need those seasoned thinkers to work with the current, so that you can have the younger generation too, because they have the energy. So you can come and put it all together, and they can run with it and get it done a whole lot faster than your seasoned thinkers. But you need that wisdom.
Taking your point, I'm going to take that for a minute. We are seeing a resurgence of racism like never before. The former president unleashed the hounds of hell. We've got the Proud Boys and the Klan and the Nazi and the militia. They are back. They are bold. They are not backing down. They are coming after us. And so this, once again, brings a need for the Black church, a safe place for us, a haven for us, because a lot of Black people will tell you they go to white churches not discussed. The racism, the dangers of these racist groups is not discussed in white churches, and so they come to the black church to have confirmation of what's going on. And so I believe the pressure from this racism is going to force more and more black churches to become politically minded, socially. Somebody once said to me, freedom is never free and the battle is never over.
Okay.
Absolutely. Dr. Patterson, please tell our audience how they can connect with you more and learn more about you and your work. You've got so much going on.
I do. But before I do that, Bishop, you did say that I was a graduate of which HBCU?
Spelman
College.
Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, the nation's premier Black women's institution. Yes, yes, yes. I am a proud graduate of the Centennial class, the class with class. And my 4 years at Spelman shaped and molded me like no other. I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for God, mom and daddy, and Spelman College. So if it's watching and trying to debate about HBCU, please go the HBCU route. But to your question, Bishop Harper, you can reach me at my church, which is the name of the church is Hamilton Park United Methodist, but we go by our cool name now is D Park UMC.
D Park.
You can meet me there. You can also visit me the park. Yeah. Catch me on social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, and you can catch me doing all kind of fun, exciting things. I was out in the snow and ice this past week doing fun things. And you can always find out more about me at my website, drsharon.com.
All right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patterson. We've enjoyed the conversation tonight, and we do hope you'll come again. And when all of this is passed over, we hope to have you host you in Houston for one of our HBCU gatherings.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm available. Just call us, sister, okay?
Now, you know, I
Take
told
care,
you.
Dr. V. Bye, Bishop.
I'll call you. All right.
Okay. Y'all
Thank
be blessed.
you.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you for dropping by.
That was great.
Yes, it was, Bishop. This is really exciting tonight. Black History Month, talking about evolving and staying relevant. All those things that historically Black colleges and universities have taught us for years how to do and to continue doing it. So,
And
this is
as
really
we
good.
are preparing for our next guest, we want to welcome all of you who have just tuned in. You've tuned in to Houston HBCU Live, a monthly webisode, a web show that is hosted and produced by the Houston HBCU Alumni Association. I am Bishop Richard Harper, the Vice President of this awesome organization, and my co-host is Miss Veronica Johnson Williams,
proud graduate of Grambling State University, all the way from Grambling, Louisiana, the piney woods of Northeast Louisiana.
Let me say again, I am Bishop Richard Harper, all the way from Paul Quinn College in Dallas, Texas. So our discussion tonight is Black history, Black excellence, and legacy building. And we've been discussing that in terms of studying our culture. We're studying African-American history and taking those trips. And we've discussed it in terms of the Black church with Dr. Patterson. But there's another foundation for Black excellence in our culture, and that was in the military. And certainly those great men who held rank in the military and fought in so many of the battles for our country. And our next guest is Captain Paul J. Matthews. The 1864 Springfield Rifles long barrel is scarred with notches and poked with dents after having endured hard service in the ranks of the 10th U.S. Cavalry. The rifle brings to life an image of a soldier whose hands once held it in its original pristine beauty. These hands were undoubtedly black because the man was a buffalo soldier. The woolly maned animal head mounted nearby conveys the power and wildness of the creature whose spirit the Cheyenne warriors passed on to the African American soldiers out of respect for their ferocity in battle. Fast forward in time and spiritual calm of a stately exhibited field altar placed next to the dress uniform of an army chaplain conveys a sense of urgency in prayer for the men and women in this case. These and other exhibits in the Buffalo Soldier National Museum opened January 5th, 2001 embody the vision of Paul J. Matthews, founder and board chairman, a graduate of Prairie View A&M University, and a former captain in the U.S. Army's Medical Service Corps. He received a Bronze Star Medal, Army Commendation Medal, and Combat Medical Badge in the Republic of Vietnam in 1969, and then went on to become Executive Business Manager and Director of Military Affairs for Merck and Company, Inc. During his career at Merck, Matthews pursued his interest in the exploits of the Buffalo Soldiers 30 years later. Matthews kept telling Barbara, his wife of 40 years, that he had enough artifacts to start a museum. His donations make up 60% of the collection in the only museum in America to chronicle the entire African American military experience from the Revolutionary War to the Persian Gulf War. The museum also recognizes the military contributions of African American women, such as Harriet Tubman. More than 500,000 visitors from across the United States, around the world, have enjoyed the museum's interactive tours and reenactments of historic Black characters. I bring to the platform with us Captain Paul J. Matthews. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Doing great. I don't need to go any further. You said it all.
Hello, Captain Matthews.
Hello.
I think
did he tell the whole story? We forgot to tell him. Don't tell the whole story.
Yeah. Leave something for me to say.
I think there's more of the story for you to tell us. First off, you are a graduate of Prairie View A&M University. Tell us about your HBCU experience.
First of all, you have to stand up when you talk about Prairie View, all right?
Okay.
See,
yeah. When I
he's always starting stuff.
Yeah, when I first heard about the Buffalo Soldiers, I was an ROTC cadet at Prairie View A&M University back in the 1960s. And I read 2 paragraphs in one military book about the Buffalo Soldiers and became very intrigued about these Black men in these blue uniforms because they did what they did, not necessarily for themselves, but for those that came behind them. And I was crossing that bridge, becoming a 2nd lieutenant in the United States Army, a bridge that I didn't build. I didn't put not one brick on that bridge. That bridge was built by the Buffalo Soldiers. And usually when I go out and talk about Buffalo Soldiers and talk about Black history, I start with Frederick Douglass, because the Europeans that come to the museum, they always ask me, almost everyone, why did the Black man stay so patriotic to America in the face of segregation, discrimination, lynching, and all the other things? And Frederick Douglass said at the start of the Civil War, give the colored man a uniform, a buckle with the U.S. on it, a button with an eagle on it, and a musket. And you will make him a citizen, but you also make him a man. Because what he was trying to do was make sure the Civil War was being fought for freedom and not just to save the Union. And the only way you can do that, you have to put the Black man in the blue uniform. And that same concept went on to World War I, when W.D. Du Bois said at the start of World War I, in the famous Crisis magazine article. So put aside your differences, go overseas, come back, be first-class citizen. World War II, you had the same thing. You had the double V for victory. Victory against Axis in Europe and victory against racism at home. So the military plays an important role in the life of the African American, even today. So we are very conscious of that. Carter G. Woodson said, "If a race has no history, if it has no worthwhile traditions, becomes a negligible factor in the thoughts of the world and stands in danger of being exterminated." And we are not going to let that happen at the Buffalo Soldier National Museum. Now, and that's the context for that, that and say, who are the Buffalo Soldiers? Well, the Buffalo Soldiers were the peacekeepers in the American West. They built camps, forts, railroads, delivered the mail, strung telegraph wires, chartered the land, chased down outlaws, comancheros. Without the Buffalo Soldiers, the westward movement would have been delayed, 50 years. Wow. Part of your discussion, you said you want to talk about stability and setting the tradition. Well, the military in the 1860s, right after the Civil War, when they started these Buffalo Soldier units, they had a chaplain for each regiment. Normally, you have a chaplain for each post or each division. But for the 4 Buffalo Soldier regiment, they had a chaplain. And the chaplain responsibility, in addition to the religious aspect, was an educator. He taught those soldiers how to read. Yep. And because the soldiers moved from place to place, the chaplain established a protocol for learning. And that protocol for learning in the military in the 1870s became the protocol we use in our school system today. So, I mean, that's a tradition that the military had. Wow. In addition to that, I think the military was on the vanguard of the civil rights movement. You had a young the doctor on today talking about Texas Southern. Well, when the soldiers came back from World War II, many of those soldiers used the GI Bill and had classes in trades at Texas Southern, which started the strong middle class that we have in the third ward today. Yeah. So the military was a part of that. Now, President Truman in 1948, Executive Order 9981, integrated the Army. Now, but it didn't happen till the entirety till the Korean conflict in the 1950s. As a matter of fact, the first fully integrated Army wasn't until Vietnam in the 1960s. And finally, let me tell you this story. We have a letter in the museum from a soldier from the Korean conflict, a black soldier. He writes a letter to his mom who lives in Brownwood, Texas. And he opens the letter by saying, "Things are quiet here. I hope things are quiet at home." And then he said, "We heard today our unit was going to be integrated." That's a very powerful letter for a historian, because here you have a black man in North Korea fighting for the liberation of Koreans in a segregated army. Right. That tells the whole story about the black man and patriotism and all of those things.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. See, you've laid the story out for us. I've always wanted to know how one could become a Buffalo Soldier. The original men that they chose as to be Buffalo Soldiers, how were they chosen or selected? Was it voluntary, or how did they come to be the Buffalo Soldiers?
Yeah, many of them were former soldiers from the U.S. colored troops from the Civil War. And why did they choose to be soldiers? If you were black in America prior to the Civil War, you were basically doing 4 things: picking cotton, cutting sugar cane, working in tobacco fields, working in rice paddies. Guess what you were doing after the Civil War? Picking cotton, cutting sugar cane. Nothing really changed. So many of these men said, "We want to stay in the Army," and that's what they did.
Wow.
And you can be a Buffalo Soldier today. Matter of fact, there are 3 ways to be a Buffalo Soldier. You can be a descendant, a bloodline descendant, which needs no explanation. It basically means that you're a relative of a Buffalo Soldier. You can be a regimental descendant, which means that you served in a unit that came out of the original units. Or you can be, like me and 25,000 other students in the greater Houston area, you can be a spiritual descendant. And in my humble opinion, being a spiritual descendant is far more important, because it means that you made a conscious decision that you believe in the three basic principles that the Buffalo Soldier stood for. And those three principles are honor, valor, and courage.
Wow.
So, Bishop and Veronica, repeat after me. I believe in
I believe in
honor,
I believe in
honor,
valor,
valor,
courage.
courage.
Give yourself a hand. You're now spiritual descendant of the Buffalo Soldier. Carry that name proud.
Woo!
Yes.
And all of you that are out there watching, take the pledge.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, that's one thing that I really enjoy, that I give the pledge to more than 25,000 students. And to hear them talking about honor and valor and courage, it really it helps me to continue to do the things that I do.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
And the museum
Captain, let me ask a quick question. Let me ask a quick question, because I've always loved the Buffalo Soldiers too, and you hear all of these stories there. I know you've studied them intensely. So the name, the Buffalo Soldiers, was the name given to them by the Indians because of the way they fought in the wars and things like that?
Yeah,
And
the name came from the Cheyenne warriors.
Right.
They saw two things in the soldiers that they saw in the buffalo. It was their naturally curly hair and that ferocious fighting spirit. And they put those two things together and they came up with Wild Buffalo. And the term Wild Buffalo eventually became a Buffalo Soldier.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
I have verified that. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
And we have Yvonne Gurley Jackson repeated it. She took the pledge.
Wow. Now
And Pamela Jones also took the pledge.
We have 25,005.
Yes. She says you're also a great historian. How do you collect so many artifacts? 60% of the museum is from your personal collection. How do you begin to collect so many artifacts?
Well, when I was director of military sales at Merck, I had responsibility for all the military installations in the U.S. and Europe. And I traveled from place to place and fort to fort. I've been to almost every military post in the U.S. and I picked up things here and there, go to military meetings. Those were the most places. But now I don't go anywhere because almost every week we get something from somebody.
Yeah.
So it took about 25, 30 years to get the collection that I had before we started. And I got to give credit to my wife. In your introduction, you said 40 years of marriage. Actually, it's been 52 years of marriage.
Wow.
Whoa. Congratulations.
She's listening.
Congratulations.
Oh, yeah.
That's
That's
good,
by the way.
So what is the future of the museum? Your museum certainly is one of the treasures of the city of Houston and the state, and a treasure just nationally. What is the future of the museum? You all are growing in so many different areas.
Yeah, when you speak of the Buffalo Soldier National Museum, we want you to say that it is the intellectual center for the African American military history universe. Okay. That's our goal. We have the national headquarters for the 9th and 10th Horse Cavalry Association. We have the largest collection of African American military memorabilia in a private collection in the world. And so those are good things, but we want to be recognized at the intellectual center. If you want to know about the African American military experience from Colin Powell to the astronauts to the Civil War veterans, this is the place to come. and we'll get in there.
My son certainly loves the NASA section.
Right. That's our modern day Buffalo Soldiers, because they're on the vanguard of civilization, similar to the Buffalo Soldiers of 1866.
Absolutely.
Now, Bishop, let me share something about the Black church that I found out that's right there on the grounds of the Buffalo Soldier. You know,
Okay.
the large bell that sits outside?
Yes.
When I was outside and Captain was disturbing the workers because I was supposed to be cleaning the windows, and he walked up in his Prairie View attire, disturbing me. But he had an opportunity to share with me the history of that large bell. And Captain, would you tell us about that large bell, where it came from? It actually came out of one of our Black churches that
Yes,
was
the
right
Black church is about a mile or two northeast of downtown Houston, and they were going to tear the church down because they're putting up a high-rise building. And the bell came from the 1860s, 1870s. And so one of the parishioners came to the museum and told us about the bell, and we went over and got our construction crew, and took us about 2 or 3 hours to get it out of the bell tower, but we finally got it in and put it up at the museum. And we use it as a sign if you wanted to have a good luck wish. You go out there and you ring the bell. And so many of the troopers that come through, is a part of their rites of passage. If you come, when they're going through their pledge period to the members of the 9th and 10th, you have to say that at some point in your pledge, you came through and you rung that bell.
Yeah.
And you even have military vehicles on the grounds.
Yes, we have a 5-ton truck. We use it mostly in parades now, because we don't put it out on the streets, but it's out there. And we have from a wagon, which is a troop carrier from the 1860s, to the 5-ton truck you see, which is also a troop carrier, from the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
100-year difference.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's an amazing experience. Can you tell everyone how they can visit, or when they can visit the Buffalo Soldier Museum?
Yes, Tuesday through Saturdays, 10 to 5. We have social distancing now, so we have a limited number that come in at a time. But you can do that. We also have virtual activities if you can't get out. At BuffaloSoldierMuseum.com. We're located at 3816 Caroline Street in the Museum District, formerly known as Third Ward.
Mm-hmm.
Before we end, can you tell us about the building? The history of the building where the museum is located now?
Yeah, it was built in 1925 by the Houston Light Guard, and they built the building in 1925, and they lost control of it about 10 years later. It went through the state and then through the city, then the Houston Community College, and we bought it from the city in 2008, and we started a capital campaign from 2008 to 2010, and then we moved into the building in 2012. And on the floors, on the second floor, the original floors are there. The brick veneer, we didn't change anything. We just cleaned it up, and so we actually restored it to its original being.
Wow, and the stairs.
Are you all still doing the capital campaign with the bricks, Mr. Matthews?
Yes, the brick
campaign.
The brick campaign. We have the Buffalo Soldier garden in the front. You can purchase a brick there.
Yes, and I do heavily encourage everyone to do that, because my husband and I purchased one. The Grambling Foundation from Houston, we purchased one. Our Grambling chapter purchased one. So we really heavily encourage everyone to leave a legacy just by going over and purchasing a brick in order to help the Buffalo Soldier Museum complete that garden, that brick garden. And it's, you know, when you go there and you see what you have done to contribute toward the history of our military, our Black military, and just Black history as a whole, I mean, it really warms your heart. So please go by the museum just to, I'm telling you, it's nothing like it in the whole world. You will not, you can spend all day and still not cover all the history that's in there. And you still walk out with so many questions. But go over and just donate, support. You have, like I said, you have the brick campaign, you have other things. There's, I know it's a donation bucket right there in the front. There's something on the wall. There's something for everyone. Right, Captain Matthews?
Right.
You didn't leave anyone out.
You did a great job, but let the record show that this panther is congratulating that tiger. Let the record show that.
This tiger, can you believe it? This tiger helping a panther.
I love it.
I tell you, we love it because I guess because we love the Buffalo Soldiers, we love the history, we love the military, all of that. And to see that you are there, like the guard over this, to keep it going on forever, for generations to come, and for our kids to be able to come over and learn this history. It's just a wonderful thing. It really is.
Yeah, it has gone way beyond my wildest dream. You know, when I left Prairie View in January 1968, had my first collectible item. I never thought that, in 2021 we'll be celebrating 20 years as a museum. So I thank the Lord every morning. You know, they gave me an opportunity to travel around the world and collect artifacts, documents, memorabilia, and have tourists, from Europe and Asia to come and say they experience the Buffalo Soldiers.
Yes, absolutely.
We are excited that you are a part of our Houston HBCU Alumni Association family. And of course, before COVID, we had our monthly mix-up at the Buffalo Soldier Museum. I'm telling y'all, we had a time.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get back to that. I don't know when.
Once again, it goes back to his forward thinking. He came to us and he said, you all, we need to take at least one day out of the month. Now, it took me a while because I'm not a military person. My dad was, I'm not. To understand what, Addie's Thursday was. I just was thinking that was the name of it. But it should have dawned on me from being in the band when the director would say Addie's. But he said we needed to take at least one day out of the month where we actually relax, connect, and converse with each other. Put like-minded people together. And guess what? In that room will be the resources that you need in order to survive and make a difference. And because we are an organization, he said it will help you to increase your membership. You're going to make it a members only event, meaning just anybody can't come in. So we actually have the only Black professional members only organization through a partnership with the Buffalo Soldiers National Museum and Houston HBCU Alumni Association, so that Black professionals have somewhere to go to relax, connect, and converse at least once a month. No work, relax, because we needed to start taking care of our health. And Captain Matthews, thank you for that, because if you had not have just stopped us, we would just be work, falling by the wayside. And that one day we still do it, even virtually. We got together and figured it out. We're going to keep this going because you told us take one day out of the month to do that. And we
Well,
do.
you're
So
welcome.
thank you.
Thank you, and we will definitely be returning back to the museum. Captain, we've got a question for you. A couple of viewers are asking how they can purchase or what is the cost or the donation for the brick? What is the donation amount?
Yeah, I think they have the two sizes now. One is $200 and one is $400. It's a different size, and one is granite and one is a regular.
Yeah.
Awesome. Captain Matthews, thank you so much. We appreciate you so much for everything that you're doing
Yes.
just for us as a culture and a community. And we appreciate you, your lovely wife, and all of the staff and board members of the Buffalo Soldier Museum.
Who are you rooting for?
Yeah, I told you he's always starting something.
I'm telling you, that's what happens when you get
And he will end it.
yeah, when you get HBCU people in the room, everybody is, showing their pride, their love for their school.
It's all about the flag. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. We appreciate you so much. Well, Ms. B, this has been another great show. It's been another great episode. It's been rich and beat tonight, and we appreciate our guests tonight, Dr. Beverly Rivers Dancer, Dr. Sharon C. Patterson, and Captain Paul J. Matthews. And we certainly are very, very appreciative of you, our dedicated members of the Houston HBCU Alumni Association. If you've not, please go to our social media page on Facebook, Houston HBCU Alumni Association, or find us on Instagram and follow us there, or LinkedIn, or even Twitter, and follow us there. And the next thing I want to ask you to do is to please share the post about our upcoming college fair. Please share the post about our college fair. You can help us get the message out there so parents and students can connect with the HBCUs that are in the room for that particular event. And of course, you can always visit us online at www.hhbcuaa.org to join or to make a donation to our organization. Everything is right there on the website. All you've got to do is just go to the website, click the button, and you can read it, and everything is explained there. Ms. V, it's been a fun night.
Yes, it has been. I have truly, well, you can't miss me when you're talking of history. You can't miss me. I just love it. And the Buffalo Soldiers Museum is one of the jewels. You said treasurer, I'm calling it a jewel.
Absolutely.
Of not just Houston, but the world itself. And we had the man himself on here who started it all. And
absolutely. That being said, guys, it's been a great evening. Thank you so much for tuning in with us here on Houston HBCU Live. And we look forward to our next broadcast with you in the month of March. We'll be talking to you very soon.
Yes. Good night.
Good night.